The snow fell silently outside the floor-to-ceiling windows of the penthouse office, each flake illuminated by the city lights below. Eliza Morgan stood alone, champagne glass in hand, staring at her reflection against the darkening sky. 50 floors up and completely alone on Christmas Eve. The woman who had everything, except someone to share it with. If you've ever felt lonely during the holidays, this story might just touch your heart. Make sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more heartwarming content that reminds us what truly matters in life. Eliza set her untouched champagne on the glass desk and checked her watch, 8:47 p.m. on December 24th. The office building had emptied hours ago, the security guards giving her sympathetic nods as they made their rounds. They knew the routine by now. 3 years as CEO of Morgan Financial, 3 Christmas Eves spent exactly like this. She ran her fingers along the edge of her desk, tracing the cold glass surface. At 42, Eliza had achieved everything she'd set out to accomplish professionally. Morgan Financial had tripled its portfolio under her leadership. The business magazines called her the Ice Queen of Wall Street, brilliant, ruthless, untouchable. What they didn't see were the nights like this, when the armor came off and left only emptiness behind. Her phone buzzed. A text from her assistant, "Merry Christmas, Ms. Morgan. Don't work too late." Eliza smiled faintly. Melissa was the closest thing she had to family these days. Her parents had passed years ago, and her sister lived abroad with her husband and children. They'd invited her, of course, they always did, but Eliza had declined. Again. The thought of being the odd one out, the successful but perpetually single aunt, was more painful than being alone. She walked to the small bar in the corner of her office and poured another glass of champagne. Dom Perignon, 2008. Expensive enough to celebrate with, though there was nothing to celebrate and no one to share it with. The building's heating system hummed quietly in the background. Outside, the snow was falling harder now, blanketing the city in white. Christmas in New York, magical for everyone else, just another reminder for her. Her phone rang, startling her. The caller ID showed front desk security. "Ms. Morgan, sorry to disturb you," came the voice of Luis, the night guard. "There's someone here asking to see you. Says his name is Jack Winters." Eliza frowned. "Jack Winters? I don't know any Jack Winters." "He says it's important, ma'am." "Something about the Henderson account?" The Henderson account was their newest acquisition, a family-owned business that had finally agreed to sell after months of negotiations. The deal was set to close after the holidays. "Send him up," she said after a moment's hesitation. Perhaps this was a blessing in disguise. Work would distract her from the emptiness of the evening. 5 minutes later, the elevator dinged, and Eliza straightened her posture, smoothed her skirt, and prepared to meet this mysterious Jack Winters. The man who stepped into her office was not what she expected. Tall with dark hair flecked with premature gray at the temples, wearing jeans and a worn leather jacket dusted with snow. He carried a small backpack and looked completely out of place in the sleek, modern office. "Mr. Winters?" she asked, extending her hand professionally. He took it, his grip firm but gentle. "Ms. Morgan. Thank you for seeing me without an appointment. Especially tonight." There was something in his eyes, a warmth, a kindness that seemed genuine. It caught her off guard. "You mentioned the Henderson account," she prompted, gesturing to the chairs in front of her desk. Jack hesitated. "Actually, I need to confess something. There is no Henderson emergency." Eliza's expression hardened immediately. "Excuse me?" "I'm sorry for the deception," he said quickly. "My name is Jack Winters. I'm a single father and a high school economics teacher. My daughter Emma is a business major at NYU, and you're her hero." Eliza blinked, completely thrown off balance. "I don't understand." Jack ran a hand through his hair, looking embarrassed. "Emma has followed your career since she was 16. She has every article ever written about you. When she found out I was staying in the city for Christmas while she's with her mother in Chicago, she made me promise to deliver something to you." He reached into his backpack and pulled out a small, neatly wrapped package with a card attached. "My daughter would kill me if she knew I was doing this, but she's been worried about you." "Worried? About me?" Eliza couldn't hide her confusion. "She doesn't even know me." Jack smiled softly. "Emma has this theory. She says that in every interview you've done in December for the past 3 years, you're wearing the same emerald earrings. She thinks they're your good luck charm. But in the photos from the charity gala last week, they were missing. She was convinced something was wrong." Eliza's hand unconsciously went to her earlobe. The emerald earrings had been her mother's, the last gift before she passed away. One had broken last month, and she hadn't had time to get them repaired. "That's remarkably observant of her," Eliza said quietly. Jack shrugged. "Emma notices things about people. She gets that from her mother." A flash of sadness crossed his face. "Anyway, she insisted I bring you this gift. Said no one should be alone on Christmas Eve." Eliza stared at the small package in his hands, feeling strangely vulnerable. How did she know I'd be alone? She didn't. But she said if you weren't, I should just leave it with security. When I arrived and they said you were still here. He trailed off, looking around the empty office. I figured Emma might be right. Something about his honesty, the absurdity of the situation, made Eliza laugh, a genuine laugh that surprised even herself. "So you lied to security to deliver a Christmas present from your daughter to a complete stranger?" Jack grinned, and the smile transformed his face. "When you put it that way, it does sound a little crazy. But Emma can be very persuasive." "She sounds remarkable," Eliza said, accepting the package. "Please, sit down. Would you like some champagne? It seems a shame to drink alone on Christmas Eve." Jack hesitated. "I don't want to intrude on your evening." Eliza looked around her empty office, at the untouched champagne, at the dark city beyond the windows. "Trust me, Mr. Winters. You're not intruding on anything." As she poured him a glass, she felt something shift inside her, a small crack in the walls she'd built so carefully around herself. "So," she said, handing him the champagne, "tell me about your daughter, the business major who apparently knows more about my jewelry habits than I do." Jack laughed, and the sound filled the empty space of her office. "Emma is 19 and absolutely determined to become the next Eliza Morgan. Though hopefully with a better work-life balance." Eliza raised an eyebrow. "Is that a criticism, Mr. Winters?" "Jack, please." "And no, not a criticism. Just an observation from someone who's made his own mistakes with balance." He took a sip of champagne. "This is very good, by the way." "It should be, for what it costs," Eliza replied. She looked down at the package in her hands. "May I open it?" Jack nodded. "That's why we're here." Carefully, she unwrapped the small box and opened it. Inside was a pair of emerald earrings, not expensive ones, but a thoughtful replica of the ones she usually wore. "Emma saved up from her campus job," Jack explained. "When she noticed yours were missing, she was determined to find something similar. She said green brings out the warmth in your eyes." Eliza felt a lump form in her throat as she read the card. "Ms. Morgan. You've shown me that a woman can be both brilliant and compassionate in business. These aren't to replace your real ones, just to remind you that your work inspires people you've never met. No one should be without their lucky charm at Christmas. With admiration. Emma Winters." "I don't know what to say," Eliza whispered, touching the earrings gently. "You don't have to say anything," Jack replied. "Emma would be mortified if she knew I actually gave these to you in person. She just wanted you to have them." Eliza looked up at him, really seeing him for the first time. There was kindness in his eyes, but also a familiar loneliness that mirrored her own. "Why are you alone on Christmas Eve, Jack?" she asked softly. He swirled the champagne in his glass. "Divorce, 3 years ago. Emma splits holidays between us. This year she's with her mother and stepfather in Chicago. I usually volunteer at the shelter on Christmas, but the snowstorm canceled the event. So you decided to deliver mysterious packages to CEOs instead?" He laughed again. Seemed like a good alternative. Outside, the snow continued to fall, creating a cocoon of white around the building. For the first time in years, Eliza didn't feel the crushing weight of loneliness pressing down on her. "I haven't eaten dinner," she said suddenly. "And I know a place nearby that might still be open. Would you like to join me? As a thank you for the delivery." Jack studied her face. "Are you sure? I don't want you to feel obligated." "I'm not offering out of obligation," she said, surprising herself with her honesty. "I'm offering because I'd like the company." He smiled, and something warm unfurled in her chest. "Then I accept." As they gathered their coats and prepared to leave, Jack turned to her. "You know, when I walked in here, I was prepared to be thrown out by security. I never expected to be sharing champagne and dinner with Eliza Morgan." She smiled, putting on the new earrings. "And I never expected to have my Christmas Eve rescued by a high school economics teacher and his thoughtful daughter." Jack held her gaze for a moment longer than necessary. "I'm here for you," he said simply. Even if it was by complete accident. Those words, so simple, yet so profound, settled around her like a warm blanket. For the first time in years, Eliza felt the ice around her heart begin to thaw. The restaurant was a small Italian place tucked away on a side street. By some Christmas miracle, it was still open, though nearly empty. The owner, an elderly man named Giuseppe, greeted them warmly. "Ms. Morgan. Merry Christmas. Your usual table?" Eliza nodded, suddenly self-conscious. "Thank you, Giuseppe." As they were seated in a cozy corner booth, Jack raised an eyebrow. "Your usual table? I thought you said you were alone tonight." I was, she corrected. "But I often come here to work through dinner. Giuseppe keeps the table for me." Jack looked around at the intimate setting, the candles flickering on each table, the Christmas decorations adorning the walls. "This doesn't seem like a place for working." "Perhaps that's why I come here," she admitted. "A small rebellion against myself." Giuseppe brought them menus and a bottle of red wine. "On the house, for Christmas," he insisted, winking at Jack before walking away. "I think he approves of you breaking your solitary routine," Jack observed, amused. Eliza felt a blush creep up her neck. "Giuseppe has been trying to set me up with his nephew for years. He'll be disappointed when he realizes this isn't a date." Jack's eyes met hers over the menu. "Isn't it?" The question hung between them, neither challenging nor presumptuous, simply curious. "I don't know what this is," she answered honestly. "Neither do I," he admitted. "But I'm glad to be here, whatever it is." They ordered pasta for her, risotto for him, and as they waited, Jack told her about his life. How he'd been an investment banker before the 2008 crash, how he'd reassessed everything after losing his job, how he'd found unexpected fulfillment teaching economics to teenagers. "They think differently," he explained. "They haven't been conditioned to accept the status quo. They ask the questions we've forgotten to ask. Like why a successful CEO spends Christmas Eve alone in her office?" Eliza suggested. Jack smiled. "Exactly like that." Their food arrived, steaming and fragrant. As they ate, Eliza found herself sharing things she rarely discussed, her childhood dreams, the sacrifices she'd made for her career, the growing emptiness she felt despite her success. "The higher I climb, the more isolated I become," she confessed. People either want something from me or they're intimidated by me. There's no middle ground. I'm not intimidated, Jack said, refilling her wine glass. No, she agreed, studying him. You're not. Why is that? He considered the question. Maybe because I've already lost the things I was afraid of losing. When your worst fears come true and you survive them, not much intimidates you afterward. And what were you afraid of losing? She asked softly. My marriage. Time with my daughter. My identity as a successful professional. He shrugged. I lost them all, to varying degrees. And yet, here I am, having Christmas Eve dinner with Eliza Morgan. Life is strange that way. There was something refreshing about his honesty, his lack of pretense. In her world of calculated statements and strategic relationships, Jack Winters was a breath of fresh air. What about you? He asked. What are you afraid of losing? The question caught her off guard. I don't know. I've structured my life to minimize loss. Is that why you work on Christmas Eve? To avoid feeling the absence of what you don't have? His perception was uncomfortably accurate. That's rather direct for someone I just met. Sorry, he said, looking genuinely contrite. Teacher habit. We ask the uncomfortable questions. She smiled despite herself. It's all right. And yes, perhaps that's part of it. The office is where I feel in control. Where I know my value. And where do you feel out of control? He asked, his voice gentle. Eliza gestured vaguely around them. Here. Now. Having dinner with a stranger who knows more about me than most of my colleagues. Talking about feelings instead of quarterly projections. Is that uncomfortable? She considered the question, surprised by her answer. Less than I expected it to be. Their eyes met across the table, and something unspoken passed between them, a recognition, perhaps, of kindred spirits despite their different paths. Giuseppe appeared with dessert, tiramisu and 2 forks. Share, he instructed with a wink before disappearing again. Jack laughed. I think we're being match-made by an Italian restaurateur. There are worse fates, Eliza replied, surprising herself with her flirtatiousness. As they shared the dessert, their conversation shifted to lighter topics, favorite books, travel destinations, the best pizza in New York. It felt normal, easy, in a way Eliza couldn't remember feeling with anyone in years. When the bill came, they both reached for it. Please, Jack said. Let me. You brought me a Christmas gift and rescued me from solitude, Eliza countered. The least I can do is pay for dinner. How about this, he suggested. You get dinner tonight, and I'll get coffee sometime next week. The implication was clear, he wanted to see her again. Eliza felt a flutter of something she hadn't experienced in a long time, anticipation. That seems fair, she agreed. Outside, the snow had transformed the city into a winter wonderland. They stood under the restaurant's awning, suddenly awkward now that dinner was over. Where are you headed? Jack asked. Back to my apartment, I suppose. It's about 10 blocks from here. May I walk you? It's late, and the streets are slippery. She should say no. She should call her driver. She should maintain professional boundaries. I'd like that, she said instead. They walked side by side through the snowy streets, their breath-forming clouds in the cold air. The city was quieter than usual, the snow muffling the typical sounds. Christmas lights twinkled in windows and around trees, casting colorful reflections on the white ground. It's beautiful, Jack said, looking around. I forget sometimes, living here year-round. I know what you mean, Eliza agreed. I rarely take the time to notice. They passed a small park where someone had built a snowman, complete with a carrot nose and button eyes. On impulse, Eliza stopped. What is it? Jack asked. I haven't built a snowman since I was a child, she said, looking at the snowy expanse of the park. Jack grinned. Is that a hint? Maybe. Without another word, he